Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started? People will continue to enter the session, but welcome and thank you for attending EC 2021 and our next session. Hopefully you're enjoying the sessions you've been to so far, but this session is really all about what you need to know about technical and skilled trade careers in the energy industry. My name is Becky Megason, and I'm a consultant with CEWD, and I'll be your moderator for this session. Before we begin, what we like to do is just offer a few housekeeping items. Our panelists here are live with you, and they are very interested in taking your questions at any time throughout their presentation. So either feel free to raise your hand or put a question in the chat feature, and we'll make sure that that question gets to them. But I do encourage you to ask questions because you've got a panel here of experts in our field with a lot of experience and a lot of advice that they're willing to share with you. So please take advantage of this opportunity to engage with each of them. So at this time, what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask each of our panelists to briefly introduce themselves. In addition, you can find out a little bit more about their backgrounds and their bios in the Resource Center on the event site. So why don't we go ahead and start with Ilana, if you'd like to introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lana Bowen. I'm actually our Senior Workforce Development Specialist here at Pepco Holdings. I work in our Pepco region, which covers the DC, Prince George's County, and Montgomery County, Maryland area. Pepco is the local electric utility here in the District of Columbia and Maryland region.
Sorry, I thought I had it going.
Excuse me, could we have everybody mute their phone unless you're going to ask a question? Appreciate it. Go ahead, Ilana.
Yeah, no problem. And hello. And so before joining Pepco as a Senior Workforce Development Specialist, really overseeing the local community workforce development work here, I was a little bit more involved on the STEM education side. I came from the DC Sustainable Energy Utility, which is the local energy utility, which really decides on energy efficient programs, community impact, energy justice, which I know is something that you all have probably heard about earlier today, and building green jobs from the local community to meet the hiring needs. And before that, I worked in Boston. So really I've been from city to city, working in the STEM and energy field, but excited to be here today.
Thank you, Ilana. TJ.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is TJ Thorin. I am also a workforce development specialist for Pepco Holdings. My area is up in the Delaware and New Jersey region, so I'm
Could we ask everybody to please put their phones on mute unless you're speaking? Thank you.
Sure. So my service territory is the entire state of Delaware, and the northern part of Maryland, stretching out to the Bay, and also southern New Jersey from Camden County all the way down to Atlantic City, all the way down to the Jersey Shore. So just much like Ilana, my job is to create those programs targeting our under-resourced communities to create that pathway into the utility field. I've been in this role for approximately a year and a half now. Prior to that, the bulk of my career was actually spent in the technical and skilled trades. I've pretty much done it all across the gambit. I've been a telecommunications lineman. I did that for about 4 years. I spent about a year in underground electric, and then I spent about 11 years in natural gas. So I've seen pretty much every aspect of the utility trades that one can do. I also spent a little bit of time as a frontline supervisor for the gas department before transitioning over to workforce development. What created my path here is that I have a strong passion for mentoring, a strong passion for giving back to my communities. And while I was in natural gas, both as a journeyman mechanic and also as a frontline supervisor, a lot of my free time was spent creating programs around awareness for our youth. And that's how I ended up in workforce development, actually making that my full-time job. So thankful to be here. Looking forward to this opportunity, this experience, and any questions that you guys may have, I will give you the 100% honest truth about it. So yeah, it should be a fun time the next hour or so.
And you know, TJ, for some reason, I believe that you're going to give the honest truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, right? Because you've seen it.
every single time.
Okay, and last but not least, Tim, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Becky.
Sure.
And great to join you, TJ and Alana, and really welcome everybody. My name's Tim Herman, and I'm Vice President of Operations for Nicor Gas. Nicor Gas is the gas company in Northern Illinois. We're one of the largest gas utilities in the country. And what we do is we deliver and sell natural gas to homes, businesses, schools, hospitals, and industry throughout Northern Illinois. And in my role, I manage and support the work teams that install, maintain, and repair the gas pipes and gas meters. A lot of you might be familiar with the gas company trucks that you see kind of around your neighborhoods. Those are the work teams that I work with and support and manage. So that's kind of what I'm doing today. I've got 38 years in the energy industry and I love it. And you know, when I was in high school, you know, if you'd have said you're going to be in the energy industry, I'd have given you a blank stare. I didn't know anything about it. When I was in high school, I wanted to go to Alaska and build dams and bridges. And instead, I got married when I was 21, and that kind of changed things. And I took the best job I could get, which happened to be getting a job with a gas transmission company. That introduced me to the energy industry, and I never left. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to be in operations jobs, construction jobs, engineering jobs, and even business management jobs for 3 different companies, all in energy. Really grateful to be in this industry. There's so many different roles here that you can do that I just think it's really exciting. So love to spend a little more time telling you all about the industry and the jobs here. I will note, I never did get to Alaska.
You still might get there, Tim.
One day.
Yeah, you might get, but this time on a vacation and maybe to do some fishing or whatever. Well, thank you to all of you. What we want to do now is transition into some questions for each panelist. And we want to talk a little bit about the types of jobs your companies have to offer, especially kind of at an entry level, skilled kind of trades perspective, and what kind of skills you might be looking for. So we're gonna start with TJ. Okay, we're gonna start with our expert TJ. So after hearing your career story, can you share with us really firsthand and honestly how you got into the industry and the jobs you had as a skilled tradesman and really what skills you felt were most needed in order for you to be as successful as you continue to be in your roles?
Sure. So if you're talking about overall at PHI, the entry-level careers, if you're talking about in skilled labor or your entry-level helper, whether that's in your natural gas department, your natural gas helper, your overhead, your underground electric departments, they're the ones that really have the entry-level helper or apprentice roles. So those are the ones that you want to be looking out for. Talk about a separate pathway. For someone who's interested, I would say find out who the local energy provider in your area is, whether it's gas or electric. Research them, but not only research them, research the companies that they do business with. So your subcontractors. Your subcontractors are also a great avenue. Are also a great avenue to get your foot into the door. Because I'm not gonna lie, it's a little difficult to get into one of the not difficult, but it's a little harder to get into one of the major utilities than it is to get in with one of the subcontractors that they do business with. The positive is that if you work with a subcontractor, it's like being being adjacent to the company. So you get an opportunity to build your name up. You get an opportunity to create your own safety record that's verifiable, which is extremely important to utility companies. And you really get an opportunity to get some hands-on skill set and training if it's a situation where you haven't had that to date. Now, when you talk about some of the skill sets that someone should have when you're walking into into the door or you want to be in the utility field, first and foremost is a desire to be safe. Across utility companies, safety is the most important thing to any utility company. We always want to see folks go home the same way that they came in. You don't ever want to see anyone have an accident or injury. So being safety conscious, having attention to detail, and most importantly, not being afraid to, when you see something, say something. So if you see someone around you that's doing something that's unsafe, it doesn't matter if it's your first day and they're a 30-year veteran, you have to have that inner strength to say something about it and to address it. And more importantly, if you see people around you doing something that's unsafe, still be willing to do the safe thing yourself. So if you see someone around you that is working, they don't have their safety glasses on, and you say something and they be like, I don't need it, or you're fine, why are you wearing yours? You still have to have that inner resolve to do the right thing yourself, even in the face of people not doing it as well. So that's the first, second, and third most important thing. If you can do that, you can be successful. The second thing is some of the more obvious things. So not being afraid of physical labor, actually enjoying physical labor. There's a certain kind of person that actually enjoys physical labor and working with their hands. Being able to work outside in different kind of weather. And to me, what I think is most important is you have to be the kind of person that wants to see the fruit of your labor, right? So the best part about when I was out in the field was seeing what I did for the day, seeing that to completion. So being able to look back at 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, whatever time it was that I got off that day, and actually being able to see the work that I did and see the value that I had to that day, whether it's installing electricity, whether it's repairing someone's gas service, whether it's installing a new gas service, and now that customer now has heat, or they now have a gas stove where they can cook. Being able at the end of the day, feeling like you actually accomplished something and being able to physically see it. I think that's probably one of the most important traits. Finding some value in that, some internal value in that, is probably one of the most important traits for someone in the skilled trade.
Thank you, T. I really appreciate that advice. We're going to switch to Tim now. Tim, being in the natural gas industry, can you describe the types of entry-level jobs that you hire for, and how a little bit of an overview of how career progression can work?
Absolutely. Yeah, I thought I would start out maybe by sharing a screen that kind of reviews the energy industry and some of the main segments. And I'm going to go ahead and load that here.
Tim, we got your email.
Yeah. Okay. Everything here.
There you
go. Okay. And can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay. I just want to take a real quick minute here just to go over what it is we're talking about here. I'm going to focus mostly on natural gas side of energy, but I'll talk just a little bit about electric. But most of you are familiar with having natural gas in your home. Natural gas is used to heat your home, your furnaces, your stoves, water heaters, gas grills, gas fryers. But natural gas is used in so many ways well beyond that makes companies like ours very critical to society. It's used to heat and control the air in office buildings and hospitals and schools, other commercial accounts like that. It's used in heavy industry, steel mills and refineries and the like. It's also used to generate electric power. So there's a lot of uses for natural gas, and that's why companies like ours are in the business of delivering that gas to those customers. The natural gas grid is vast. Natural gas is produced in places like Texas, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, and other areas. It's produced by companies like ExxonMobil and BP and companies you've heard of. They actually drill wells and remove the gas, naturally occurring gas from the ground. It gets gathered in thousands of pipes and brought to central points where the gas is treated and processed. It's put in large transmission pipelines, all buried, that take that gas all across the country to the cities and towns where it's used. That's where companies like mine take the gas over, and then we redistribute that gas to all of the different kinds of customers, homes, power plants, industries, office buildings, hospitals, and the like. My company, NiCor Gas, focuses on that last leg that I've highlighted here in yellow, where we distribute the gas to the users. There are gas pipelines all over the country. I put a little diagram here that shows you just how vast the natural gas grid is. But on the electric side of things, it's all very similar. If you look at the bottom part of this, instead of having production, you've got power generation facilities, nuclear, coal, wind, solar. That power is produced and it's brought together into high voltage transmission lines. You've seen these are the great big steel towers you see with the wires. They take the large volumes of electricity and they bring it to the central points to be redistributed, those substations. From the substations, the electricity is delivered in lots and lots of wires, usually overhead, sometimes underground, to all the individual users. So there's a lot of similarity. The natural gas and electric businesses are joined at the hip. A lot of those power plants are fired by natural gas that's delivered by the gas grid. So together, this is kind of that industry that we're talking about today. Both those focused on the gas side like me, as well as my colleagues from Pepco. What the strength of our business is our people. That's really our strength. That's where those are the people that deliver gas safely and reliably to our customers. And we rely on the utility specialists, mechanics, technicians, welders, and crew leaders to keep the gas flowing, to install, repair, and maintain all of that equipment to make sure that our service is safe and reliable for our customers. But these are the jobs that are critical to this. As TJ said, safety is really at the root of it all, and customer service, making sure our customers have safe and reliable product. But these are the core jobs in our world. We rely very heavily on employees to make this happen.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for sharing that. And the cool part of both graphics that you showed, there's jobs all along that entire way. So really appreciate that. So Alana, if you could, Tim shared a little bit about the gas side of the industry. Can you talk a little bit about the types of jobs on the electric side and some of the entry-level jobs and maybe skills you're looking for on that side of the house? Okay.
Sure. So, of course, speaking to those that are currently in high school or looking for that next step, you're in a great position because there are two kind of pathways that you can take within the electric industry. So on the electric side, we have direct career pathways. So if you graduate high school and you feel that college is maybe not the best pathway for you, there are training, apprenticeship programs, and even entry-level positions that you may be able to enter in more of the skilled trade and field employees. And then, of course, for those that are interested in continuing their education, whether it be community college or associates or bachelor's or further on, there are positions within the electric field ranging from engineering to more of our operations side. Environmental is something that is really obviously growing interest, but also growing field, whether it be hazardous waste management, environmental management and spills, IT, and then of course, if you're interested in being a little bit more customer facing on the support services side. But most of the programs that I oversee, and of course TJ oversees as well, my colleague, are really, we're looking for those passionate individuals that are graduating high school and looking to get right into that direct career pathway. And the best news about that is there is no education required beyond your GED or high school diploma. So we have pathways in our overhead departments. So if you're not scared of heights, that's something to think about. Underground, going into those enclosed spaces, manholes, more on the transmission and substation side, meter technicians, and then even on our fleet department, something that folks do not often think about is the automotive side of our work. So looking at the electric vehicles, hydraulics, diesel, heavy machinery, and things of that nature on the fleet mechanic side. Throughout each of those departments, there are so many ways that you can go once you get your foot in the door, as TJ mentioned. It's really just about getting your foot in the door and having a positive attitude, and then really finding your passion once you are trained and really have the knowledge to move forward in your career. So something that we always share in this field is that being in the utilities field, whether it be energy or gas, there's always going to be jobs. This is a industry that is, bomb-proof. Of COVID-19, we were still hiring. We have happy employees. Our average length of service is 15 years plus. People don't want to leave this field because there is so much room for growth. The pay is, of course, excellent, and there is no true education needed at the start. This is a very fast-growing industry, so there's tons of advancement opportunities. A lot of companies provide tuition assistance, whether it be going back to get a degree that's related to the field, or if you want to go into a supervisor role like TJ was, and there's career stability. So I guess the one thing, if you take away from today, is, we can teach you the skills, but what we're really looking for are folks that are dedicated, they show up on time, they know how to listen, and they're willing to be able to adapt in certain situations. These are physically demanding jobs, but we need folks that are really looking to, be dedicated and work hard alongside our teams.
Lana, thank you. Thanks for offering that advice. Tim or TJ, you want to add anything to that? Or probably concur.
No, I think Alana did an excellent job.
Good.
I agree.
What we want to do now is just transition a little bit to, for our listeners is, how can they best prepare themselves right now for a potential career in the industry? Are there skills, activities that we might want to encourage them to participate in now as they look, especially if you're in high school or you're in college and you're looking for those jobs? So, Alana, we're going to pick on you again. So as a high school student, what can they do now? What can they begin doing now to prepare themselves for a job in the industry? Are there any classes to take, certifications that they should be looking at? So your advice here.
Sure. Just to piggyback on what was already shared, start doing your research now. You already heard from Tim a little bit about natural gas and TJ's pathway. Start looking at those companies in your local area that are your providers, whether it be electric, gas, or even those subcontractors. We see a lot of overlap in the infrastructure and civil world as well. So what you can do now is really, like I mentioned, we can teach you all the skills, but it's really about getting in the right mindset to be able to go into these physical demanding positions. This is a 24/7 lifestyle, 24/7 round the clock lifestyle. If there's a storm, we're out there making sure that there are people being restored with their electricity, or outages are being restored quickly. The most important thing, though, is definitely, and when you're in high school, is your driver's license and keeping your driving record clear. That is probably something that you will carry throughout your entire career in this field. All of our positions require driver's license and eventually move forward into the CDL. So if that's something that you're looking into, I highly suggest that. And also adjusting to the fact that, you're going to be waking up early at 6:30 a.m. or even earlier than that to be out in the field, physically fit, making sure, of course, that you're following pre-employment and safety screenings, because we want to make sure safety is number one in this industry. And then any summer positions that you can get while you're in school, whether it just be working in the construction field, civil, infrastructure, just to really getting started used to that physical labor side. There are definitely some safety certifications that you can get in high school, like CPR and first aid, some of the OSHA certifications and construction certifications that are offered in some of the technical high schools. But it's really about educating yourself a little bit more on the mechanical concepts and preparing yourself for when you enter the field. You'll be surprised to know that you actually use some of the stuff you are learning in school, whether it be in physics or math, out in the field when you're doing this work. So.
And you know what? That is the most perfect segue to our engineer, Tim, talking about math and physics and science and whatever. DJ?
Yeah, if it's okay, I just wanted to piggyback on Alana's thing real quick. Okay, because like I said, I'll be honest. So Alana gave you some great things that you guys can do, and everything that she said was spot on. I just want to add a couple more things and emphasize one thing that she said: the license. So we understand we were all young, first got our license. The first thing you want to do is speed. Don't do that. It's the hardest thing in the world. That's probably one of the few things that can disqualify you from the very beginning on getting these jobs, because these are all DOT positions that are
chugging along,
demanded.
singing a song.
Somebody.
Just a reminder to please mute your phones unless you're speaking.
The second thing, which is, again, we were all 16, 17, 18, and this is being said with absolutely zero judgment. All of these jobs are DOT required, which means there's drug testing. So you have to make the decision right now. Do you want to use recreational drugs, or do you want to work? So if you decide that a utility company is one for you, recreational drugs cannot be a part of your life. Let's just call that what it is. It's a conversation we have with our high school folks in our programs all the time. And third one is probably the most hardest thing is that if you're entering one of these jobs completely out of high school, your life is going to be different, right? You have your friends that you grew up with. Some of them may be going to school. Some of them may be doing other careers that are not the same as yours. So your lifestyle is going to start to change. It's going to be different. It's going to be for the good though, because in the long term, not even the long term, in 3 to 5 years, you'll be making upwards of close to 6 figures. So again, your lifestyle will change, your money will change. You have to understand that the decisions that your friends make could possibly impact you in your career. So you have to kind of understand what friends that you may have to separate from for the sake of your career and which ones that you can keep around you. It's all part of our growth. It's something that you're going to have to do as you continue to grow and be an adult anyway, but you might have to start to make those tough decisions earlier. The reward at the end of it will be completely worth it, but it's just some of those things that you need to start thinking about as you graduate and start to try to pursue this career path. That those are some of the things that you may have to make a little earlier and be prepared to do that.
TJ, thank you. Everybody's heads are nodding. Great advice. Tim? What is your perspective on preparing?
Yeah, I tell you, Lana and TJ really covered it well. I'll just add a couple of things. And really, I think they both teed it up. Mindset is a real big part of this. If you're coming into an entry-level job, you're gonna have to be able to learn how to use basic computer programs. You don't have to know them coming in. You're gonna have to be able to learn how to use them. Everyone has a computer in their car, and that's how everyone tracks what work is getting done and how we can respond effectively. You've got to be able to use some basic electronic equipment, things like gas detectors. This is not super sophisticated stuff, but you do have to be comfortable using it. So you've got to get your mind in a place where you're ready to learn and kind of take it all and absorb it and then apply it. That's a mindset that you really have to develop. And there's things you can do while you're still in high school to do that. It's just a little different way of thinking rather than thinking about things as I've got to do this just to get through this. Kind of think about it from the standpoint of how do I learn this so that I can be better at doing something. So that's kind of a mindset that you can start practicing now. PJ touched on you do need to have some physical capabilities. We don't need big burly people to do this stuff. We train men, women, big and small, to carry out the physical tasks that have to be done. But that being said, you will need to learn how to use basic tools like shovels and wrenches and the like, and use them safely. So, any chance you have to work with your hands just a little bit with some basic tools like this can help just a little bit. You all might not have that opportunity, but if you do, good to get comfortable with some of those things. Moving on from the basics, it's going to be important that you're able to learn how to follow rules and follow procedures and protocols. Really important in these jobs because all this goes to safety. You've got to be able to interact effectively with people. These are people jobs. You're interacting with customers, coworkers, managers, and it's really important that you know how to deal with people fairly and effectively, that you can talk to people comfortably. So, practice those skills if you can. Just dealing well with other people, treating them well. Last, you do have to be prepared to respond to some call-outs and some overtime. And I think Alana touched on that earlier. It's a core part of the job. You have to be prepared to that. Fortunately, the driving's been covered. It's not enough to have a driver's license. It's got to be a safe driver. Drug testing, I'll say it really clearly. Even though weed is legal, you still can't use it when you're on one of these jobs because the government agencies dictate what you can and can't not have in your blood at the time you're tested. You'll be drug tested before you hire on. They'll be drug tested randomly throughout. So that's a commitment you've got to make. TJ, I just couldn't help but reinforcing that specific thing a little bit. Weed is legal here in Illinois. You still can't use it here because you'll get fired if it's in your system. So just being real clear. Last thing I want to touch on, our jobs in these categories are union positions. So you have to be prepared to join the union. Local 19 is our union here. They are tremendous. We view them as a huge asset to our business. They support us. We're partnered with them all the way. These are union jobs. The union will support you. We support you and the union. So it's just something you have to be ready to do.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Tim. And Tim, that's actually a good segue into our next segment that we want to talk a little bit about is about setting expectations. And I think you just kind of teed a question up for TJ. You mentioned about the fact that a lot of these jobs require working in a union. And so TJ, can you describe what that really means and how this works when you're in a position that, so to speak, requires you to join the union?
Absolutely. So, me personally, on a personal note, I'm even though I've exited the union to be in my position now, I am still very pro-union. Always been pro-union. Will always be pro-union. Union jobs are probably one of the best things that happen to skilled labor workers or just workers in general in this country. With it, obviously come your union dues. So depending upon where you are and what local you're a part of, there are union dues that will be paid out of your paycheck. I think that the positives, though, as far as having someone to represent you when it comes to bargaining to ensure that you're being paid a fair wage, that you have all of the benefits that you guys at 18 probably don't care too much about now, but you will as an adult, to make sure that you have good medical, dental, vision, a company match 401k for a savings plan for you retire. The union is to make sure that you're always treated fairly in those negotiations. You're treated fairly by your company. They make sure that your vacation time is usually probably one of the best packages that are available in the country, depending upon where you are. And then other aspects of it, to really make sure that you have job security. They really make sure that while even though that utility companies do partner with subcontracts and other companies, they ensure that your job is secure, to make sure that there's a certain amount of work that stays within the company, to make sure that you are always continually working, to have someone to represent you if there's ever a conflict between yourself and the company, or even between yourself and a coworker. The union is there to support you guys, to make sure that you guys get fair representation, to make sure that any settlements that reach or any discussions that need to be had are moderated fairly. And they're truly there to support you. I highly recommend anyone that joins this company be as active in the union as possible. Representation and your voice is always welcome. It's always encouraged, and it's best when all viewpoints are shared and shared equally. So, I would say actually the best part of the union that the union has is wages, right? That's why everybody works, is to make money. Again, unions ensure that as far as utility workers, our wages stay consistent across the country, and that they are amongst the top, I would say amongst the top 30% of earners in the country, right? You have your extremely high earners, and then you have your professional earners that are like doctors and lawyers and stuff like that. Right after that are union skilled labor workers. So unions have done a lot for the working man. The people, that's the title people like to use, the working man, right? The unions have done a lot to make sure that the working man, the people that build and maintain the infrastructure in this company, are well compensated, because you give a lot. You give a lot of your time and your energy, time away from your family. So it's only fair that you're compensated correctly. And unions have done a lot to make sure that we're done so. The last part of what unions, not the last part, but the last part that I will speak about that unions have done, especially over the last 30 years, is really make it a point to review and reevaluate the safety procedures, right? So and not only talking about your personal protective equipment that you wear, or the vehicles that you drive. One of the major things that most recently the unions here in Delaware mandated with our last contract negotiations was the amount of time that you're allowed to work straight. So, overtime in emergencies, they happen. So you're often required to work past your 8 hours a day. But the union wanted to look at the safety and what happens when an employee works past 16 hours. They came to find that, productivity drop, attention to detail drop. So they mandated that, you can only work a certain amount of hours, and then after that, you have to have a certain amount of time off of work. That's to protect the worker from himself sometimes, because a lot of guys will want to work 24 hours straight, go home for 3 hours, and come right back. Not only for the money, but just for the dedication. Your brothers are out there working in the storm. You want to get back out there and help too. But they did a lot as far as safety to protect you from yourself. So the union is really the backbone that has the workers' best interests at heart. And it's like people say, it's a brotherhood. So when people say that's my union brother, it really becomes that. So again, even though I'm not in the union, extremely pro-union guy here.
It's always in your heart, right?
Absolutely.
So just transitioning that, Tim, one of the things that we talk about is the fact that you talk about these jobs in the trades. but there are opportunities to move into the professional management positions in your organization. Can you talk a little bit about that and like what you look for in your best workers to put into those roles?
Absolutely. And wow, are we lucky to have a face to this, and that's TJ. Look, you know, what we consider kind of our best workers are those that are motivated to continuously gain knowledge and experience. People that we can count on in emergencies. You know, when there are emergency situations, call outs, and overtime type situations, they're there when we need them. Employees that help identify new ways to improve service to our customers or our safety. And then last, people skills. I just can't stress enough how important it is to be able to deal really well with people, with customers, to be respectful yet have good conversation with customers, coworkers, and management. It's so important. And really, TJ is a great face of this. You know, you see that TJ started, you know, in these kinds of jobs, but you can see what got him into the position of management. And we want to advance people that choose to come out of the union and go into management. We work very hard to get them in that position if they have these qualities that I just talked about and the qualities that you see in TJ. I have, you know, underneath me, there are 8 directors. Each director has responsibility for about 100 people and all the trucks and equipment that goes in to support those people, what they do. Currently, you know, of our 8 directors that we have, 3 of them are people that advanced through entry-level positions here, where we identified that they had those skills and abilities. Where we have scenarios where they want to make that move into management, we will work very hard to make it happen. And they're very successful. The office you see behind me, my office, the person in this office before me started out as a meter reader and worked up all throughout, mechanic, technician, etc., and ultimately became a vice president. And you know, that can happen in energy.
Thanks for sharing that story, Tim. Tim and I worked together for a long time, so I know exactly who he's talking about. So great story. Alana, one of the things that we've talked on, and you touched upon a little bit, is training and education and ongoing, especially at Pepco. Can you just talk a little bit about the training and educational programs that someone could expect to be part of at Pepco?
Sure. So, you know, this really speaks, I think, to a lot of, you know, the typical Pepcos, the Delmarva Powers, ComEd, or even, you know, our partners outside of Exelon. Training is number one. So if you don't decide to go directly into this career after high school, there are so many training programs if you're looking for a career transition in the future, if you're looking to grow within the industry. But the training is really going to be ongoing throughout your entire career. So it's a true balance between not only the physical, technical, and safety training, but also ensuring that you are ready for this type of environment. So the second that you're hired on, whether it be as an entry-level employee, you're going to be entering some type of training. It could be a climb school for 5 weeks, and then you'll go into, once you pass that milestone, you'll go into 10 weeks of a secondary school and have to complete a physical test and a skills test. And then you'll eventually go out into the field to do OJT or on-the-job training for almost a full year. And you'll always come back to training at each step, which is why I think this field is so wonderful, because all the tools are there for you. You just have to really take advantage of it and really kind of set your path of what your end goal is. What's your 3, 5, and 10-year plan within this industry? You'll get certifications that can transfer. It's within the field, whether it be safety, driving certifications, and training. And then a little bit on what Tim was talking about and complimenting TJ, which is definitely well-deserved, of if you are in the field and you've moved up the ranks and you are in a supervisor position and looking to go more into the operations side or workforce development, or looking at more strategic approaches, a lot of companies do offer that tuition reimbursement, so you can go back to school and get those degrees fully paid for, if not, at least 90%. And the unique part of this field is really that you can take the knowledge that you learn in one department and move to a different department within the company after a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. we're not so much looking for that hard technical knowledge, we're looking for those competencies. So adaptability, coaching, leadership, how do you work well with others, diversity and inclusion. That is really going to get someone set up for success in the long-term career pathway. So the training is there for you for the taking. Usually it is covered by the company. There are some certifications that some contractors might have you get on your own, like a CDL, but the pathway is out there set for you, and you just got to go through those milestones.
So it's really a continuous learning environment, no matter where you are in the organization.
Absolutely.
I did put a note out on the chat feature and ask for any questions. So we have a response. I'm a career specialist for Kamichi Tech and work with local schools to provide middle school and high school students with information on career opportunities. I'm trying to provide more hands-on activities for students to experience. Are there any hands-on activities that could be done with students, specific such as STEM, physics, what have you? Anyone want to respond to that?
I'll take a first crack at that. I guess I'll say there's classroom materials, and you talked about STEM, physics, math, those are very important. I think a lot of schools have that. You can always have more better. I would say materials that take those and apply them to real world principles would be good. How do you take some of your basic math and apply it to real world situation in an industry like it could be everything from calculating what something weighs to different tools. The other thing I would say is just something that introduces people to tools. It's really common for people to come out of high school and not had any opportunity to work with some real basic tools. And even just knowing at an early age, what are some of the basic tools? What are they used for? That's not something you see in a lot of classrooms today. And I think that's something that might be very helpful.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim. We also have at CWD, we have for our educators that might be on the line, we do have a whole series of education programs. And if you visit cewd.org and look under the education tab, you will see the access to materials and some classroom materials that we actually have, especially for high schools. So little pitch on that also. So we have about 3 minutes left. Yeah, okay. We have about 3 minutes left, and so I have one parting question for all of you. Is what words of advice would you share with our listeners today, especially our high school students that might be, that cusp of trying to figure out what it is they want to do and why the energy industry? So, Tim, you want to lead this off and bring us home?
Absolutely. Look, the energy industry is vast. We've talked about how many different areas. You can work in a power plant, you can work in a gas production field, you can work in the utility system, gas or electric transmission. There's so many different roles here that there's a lot of ability to move around to different places. It's a dynamic industry that's changing all the time. So it's an exciting career. I don't think of myself as a gas industry employee. I think of myself as an energy industry employee. Lots of opportunity. You can comfortably raise a family with these jobs. They're good jobs. The companies provide really good pay and benefits for employees, much like TJ said. But the last thing I would say is these are not jobs you can move in and out of. It's not an intermittent job. It's not a side gig. We do expect a commitment made, to learn and grow with our company. In return, I think companies like ours and Pepco's make commitments to the employees as well. So it's a long-term commitment they would have to each other and a great career. It's not like the Army used to say, it's not just a job, it's a career.
Great. Yeah, thanks a lot, Tim. We just have about a minute left. Alana?
Well, I will go quick because TJ will have the parting words. I will just say, really just make a plan for yourself. This industry is here for you. We need people to join this industry. We are looking for high school students that are passionate and want to go right to work. The biggest barrier that I see is that people come in here and don't have a positive attitude in the workplace. So if there's one advice that I could give you is walk in there every day with a smile, always be the one raising your hand rather than being told what to do. Ask, what can I do? And then, of course, show up on time. That's always our biggest challenge. So please, please, please show up on time for your work.
Good advice, Alana. Okay, TJ, we're just at 11. We're just at the time of the hour, but give us your quick advice.
My quick advice for those that are graduating high school: if you don't quite know what it is that you want to do and you have the basic skill set, you're willing to work outside, you're willing to work hard, you like being in a team environment, there's a lot worse things you can do than be in the utility field. Like Tim said, you're going to comfortably making money to support yourself and your family. You're going to develop a skill set that you can be proud of and that you can stand on and that you can take anywhere in the country if you wanted to relocate and find another opportunity. And last but not least, you're finding a career that's respectable, and it's pretty much layoff proof. Like Alana said, through COVID we worked, through natural disasters and inclement weather we work. So it's really something that you can be proud of, and there's always opportunities for career growth and improvement. So those would be my quick parting words.
Well, thank you, Alana, Tim, TJ. I cannot thank you enough, and I reserve the right to bring this panel back again for EC 2022. What do you think? You in?
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, and everyone, please enjoy the rest of EC 2021. Take care.
Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye.